Sound. Start. Weekend. Welcome to the NTT20 betting show sponsored by AK Bets with me, Ali Maxwell, and him, former Hungary international Akos Elek here. We're making betting picks ahead of an unseasonably warm and undeniably full slate of EFL action. Betting comes with risks. This show is for over 18s only, and we want to make sure that everyone listening, anyone thinking of placing a bet this weekend or anytime, be gamble aware. Head to gambleaware.org to brush up on the risks that come with gambling and make sure you are across them, please. Last week, Naps, Stockport 6-5, winner Crawley 7-2, 1-1 draw with Wickham, loser. Next bests, George, Sheffield United 11-8, winner at Luton. Chesterfield draw no bet at Walsall, loser. Goal scorers, Josh Murphy, loser. Gus Harmer, injured. Stake returned. Long shots, Shrewsbury to 0, no. Harrogate and Swindon over 4.5 goals, 7-1, no. Mixed. I was a bit up, you're a bit down.
Mixed bag.
Mixed grill. There was a moment where Crawley and Wickham were 1-1. Walsall and Chesterfield were 1-1. And we had separate interests in Crawley and Chesterfield winning, but we had our joint bet, the 66-1 win and BTTS double, which is always a bit of fun because you do need the oppo to score. And so 1-1 is an intriguing time, but it didn't go our way.
But yeah, we go again.
It's all we can do. What's your nap this weekend? What is your best bet?
Gonna have to wait till Monday Night Football for my nap, my best bet of the weekend. And I think the best bet of the whole weekend is Leeds to beat Sheffield United at 19-20 at Bramall Lane. Now, this is a huge game. It's first versus second in the Championship. It is a game where if Leeds win it, they'll go 4 points clear of Sheffield United. If Sheffield United win it, they will usurp Leeds. And if they draw, then they're still, I guess the teams beneath them will see them still in there, able to kind of shoot at in Sunderland and Burnley. Now there's a few reasons I think Leeds are value here. Like, firstly, Leeds' dominance at Ellen Road has been obvious all season, and they continued that, albeit with a pretty late show against Sunderland last time out. And their away form at times has been really patchy, but that hasn't really been the case as of late. They've won their last 2 away games, 2-0 and 4-0. There was a 0-0 draw against Burnley before that. They were 3-1 up against Hull before conceding twice late. I mean, that is obviously a game where you can put that down as dodgy away form, but then that came off the back of 2 wins, 10-0 away from home in Derby and Stoke. There is no question, given that they started the season with just 2 wins from their first 7 away games, that they have massively improved on the road. And I'm not necessarily sure that's really being factored into this. Then you've got Sheffield United, who, we spoke a bit on the Monday show about the price that they went off against Luton, and whether that was a kind of, for those who didn't listen, Luton were basically smashed up in the betting before Sheffield United's 1-0 win, to the extent that I put them up at 2.2, and they went off kind of 2.65 at Luton, and after about 10 minutes of that game, Luton were then favourites because they had the better of the first half.
11-8 you put them up?
Yeah, okay, a bit bigger. I then I backed Luton last night in the game where they hosted Plymouth Argyle at 4-5. I thought they'd end up going much shorter, kind of possibly in part because of the move with the Blades game, but also because of their performance in that first half against Sheffield United. The opposite happened. They massively drifted in the half an hour before kickoff. They went out from 1.8 out to 1.96 for a time before kind of settling at about 10-11, 1.91, which again was a surprise. And the way the game went, I'm pretty happy that the 1.8 that I bet was value. But even though it was a loser, because again Argyle offered absolutely nothing from an attacking perspective, and the goal came and Mark McGuinness was off having treatment, and Amari Bell was therefore on Maxi for the cross from the throw, which he then nodded in. Apart from that, and Jacob Brown missed an absolute sitter straight after the goal to make it 2-1, and Luton had by far the better chances in what was a very poor quality game. But the market move itself, the fact that Luton was such a big drifter against weak opponents in Wednesday night's game, suggests to me that there might be an element here where we're going to see Sheffield United very weak in the market going forward. And when you look at their recent performances and their recent games, it's not that hard to see why. They were beaten 3-0 by Hull back at the end of January. They then beat Derby 1-0 away from home, but it was a really poor game where they created next to nothing apart from Britton Diaz's goal, and it was by no means a dominant performance. They were then second best when they beat Portsmouth 2-1. Pompey by far the better side, especially in the first half, and really should have beaten them in that game. You've got the 3-1 win over Borough, which is the best performance of the 5 by miles, but a Borough side who are capitulating in front of our eyes right now. And then finally the win over Luton last time out, where on the balance of play, Blades were very lucky not to go at least one goal behind at half time. So, and added to that, we've seen multiple players out injured in that game against Luton as well, and there are doubts for key players coming into this, the likes of O'Hare being one of them, and Harmer being another. So I think there are quite a lot of reasons to think the Blades may be running a little bit hot in terms of their performance level. I think there is, despite these two teams being separated by 1 point in the league table, I think there is a huge gulf between the quality of the two sides personally. And any concerns I had over Leeds' ability to replicate their home form away from home, I'm kind of over now. And their performance against Sunderland, although I thought Sunderland defended incredibly well in that game, they still. It was a game where, in terms of territory and possession and control between both boxes, Leeds obviously had that. So yeah, I'm pretty strong on Leeds being, even though Blades have the home advantage, I think getting nearly even money about a Leeds win in this game, in a league where I still anticipate they should win it by quite a big margin, is the way that I'm looking to go.
My nap's in League Two, right at the bottom of it. Carlisle to beat Gillingham at 6-4 with AK bets. This is a game between two of the worst teams in the English professional pyramid. Carlisle at the bottom of it. Gillingham, well, let's talk about Gillingham, because they're 19th in League Two, but they haven't won in 11 league games. They have got 4 points from their last 10 league games. John Coleman, they haven't really improved under him. He replaced Mark Bonner. It wasn't a Bonner problem. I think everyone kind of knew that at the time, even when Bonner was sacked. It's amazing when you get a manager sacked. Most of the time, I would say, a fan base is pretty happy because it's probably got to a point where they don't like the points return. They don't like the results, and so they want better results, and they think that a new manager will bring them that. When Mark Bonner got sacked by Gillingham, I felt like the fan base were mostly like, yeah, we are really bad, and not sure it's necessarily his fault, but I guess that's the only thing we can change.
Let's find out.
Let's just find out. And it wasn't. Coleman came in, knows the league, famously, hasn't made much of a difference. I guess my big point about Gillingham, this is quite a big reason for Carlisle being my nap. Don't be fooled by the league table and think that this is the worst team in Carlisle, bottom of it, against a team that's bad, but not that bad. 19th is not quite bottom two. Gills won 6 of their first 8 league games this season, very famously, and we tackled that on the pod at the time. Since the 1st of October, so that is coming up to 5 months of action, they have the worst points return in League Two. 15 points from 22 games, 13 defeats in 22, only 3 wins. They've only scored 14 goals in 22 games. Now, just above them in that table with 16 points from 23 games, also miserable, is Carlisle United. But the difference is, I think Carlisle under Mark Hughes and the Williamson to Hughes change is likely to have a bigger impact than the Bonner to Coleman change has had for Gills. And it hasn't necessarily shown in results yet, we should say. Grimsby, his first match, ended up being a bit ugly because they went ahead through Sam Lavelle. It was one of those where the early goal was maybe the worst thing that could have happened because they didn't really know what to do. Grimsby battered them and won 2-1 with 28 shots. They then went to Newport. They lost 1-0. Bad result on paper against a pretty poor Newport side. You look at the game, Carlisle had 17 shots, 6 on target. Newport had 8 shots, 1 on target. The 1-0 scoreline in Newport's favour did not reflect the balance of play. And then Cole U 0-0 last week. a relatively even game. You know, Carlisle got a point thanks to a generational save from their goalkeeper, and they could have lost that on another day. But Colchester, a really difficult opponent, and I don't think the performance was horrendous. So the results aren't amazing, but I sense that there's a bit of positive energy from within the fan base about Hughes. And I think Hughes, as well, is saying and doing the right things initially. I don't think they're like resigned or consigned to relegation yet. He fired up the home fans, the paddock behind the goal, before and after that game against Col U. We'll wait and see if that has much of an impact, but I think if it gives a bit of life and a bit of extra support into the fan base, I think it could be quite powerful. Now, the players is kind of the big question mark, because they're the ones that have shown so little under quite a few managers now, and clearly they've used, 40-odd players in the league. They're chopping and changing. Hughes is doing what I hoped he would do. He's found a shape in 4-2-3-1. He's found a group of players, and he's broadly sticking with them because he wants to give them some game time to build partnerships on the pitch, which is going to be crucial. So Thomas and Lavelle have started every game at centre-back. Patching and Whelan have started every game in the midfield. Embleton's playing in the 10 role and starting to look pretty good. Kadeem Harris on the wing has been probably their best player in attack this season. And I just think it's the right approach. And I see a world where they keep getting a bit better each game. And I think this is a huge opportunity for them. Looking at the numbers, last 8 games in League 2, Gillingham's XG ratio, the worst in League 2. Carlisle's is like mid-table. Recently, their poor results haven't actually been reflected in poor underlying numbers, and that includes 5 away games in their last 8 as well. So I don't think Carlisle are a shambles right now, and I think this is a great opportunity for them. And I also think there might be something psychological here, where Carlisle know they're in the muck, and they have been for months. I'm not sure Gills necessarily will be feeling that, and I'm not sure that the personality of the team, the characteristics of this group of players lends itself to them like suddenly realising they're in a bit of trouble. I think they might be sleepwalking a little bit, Gillingham. So I'm backing Carlisle to take this opportunity to win and kind of blow the whole thing wide open. Carlisle is my nap at 6-4. Next up is Next Bests.
My next best is Carlisle at 6-4.
No.
Nap times NB. Yeah, for all the reasons you mentioned, I think there are quite clear examples, tiny little fragments of promise in Carlisle's recent form under Mark Hughes. Certainly, holding a Colchester side who are in really good form isn't the kind of result I necessarily would have anticipated them to get had Williamson still been at the club. When you look at the players who kind of played a key attacking role in their few chances within that game, the likes of Embleton and Robertson and Wern, like these are players who just have no part playing for a team who are currently bottom of League 2, and at some point I think it's going to click. And as you say, frankly, from October to now, Carlisle aren't even the worst team in the league because Gillingham are, and we've seen no improvement from Gillingham at all. And that the point at Walsall may show some promise to some, but it was just a result of one incredible strike from range, and apart from that, they were still pretty toothless. So to be getting 6-4, I'd really struggle to find a reason to back Gillingham at kind of 15-8 to win this one. And I definitely agree with kind of the amateur psychology side of things, where for Carlisle, this is getting towards like last chance saloon. This is an opportunity against a side who are bang out of form, who've been bang out of form for a while, who aren't very good at home, who you can catch to win and get 3 points. For Gillingham, this is a horrible game. This is a game where you've got to go there and make sure you don't lose. And I don't really see any evidence in their performances to suggest they'll go there and take the game to them and do so successfully. So, yeah, fully in agreement about the 6-4 being a bet about Carlisle.
Come on, Carlisle United. Come on. You've got 3 of our points weighing heavy on your shoulders. Make them count. My next best is the same price, 6-4, but a different bet in a different league. This is Charlton to win to 0 at home to Exeter City. Clean sheets in 8 of 16 at home. Charlton, they're a pretty clean sheety team. Defensively, very strong, aggressive out of possession. Make it very difficult for the opposition to play, basically. 0.69 goals conceded per game at the Valley this season. They've won 3 of their last 4 0 at the Valley, and they only face 8 shots a game total at home. And coming to town are an Exeter team that away from home this season only take 7.7 shots a game, which is the lowest in League One. They take the fewest shots away from home of any team in League One. They really struggle to generate consistent attacks. on their travels and frankly at home. Exeter have been a bottom 4 level team for a few months now. There are a few parallels with Gillingham, to be fair, in that they started well. They gathered quite a lot of their current points tally in the first month or two of the season. Since then, they've lost, 12 of 21 in the league. In their last 9 away games, lost 6, won 2, drew 1. But also just looking at the way that their results are split in terms of the league table, very clearly struggling against the top teams on their travels. It's no real surprise with the budget that Exeter have. I don't mean to be hugely critical that they've done well to accrue the points they have this season, and that they're not finishing strong, it's fair to say. But they lost 2-0 at Birmingham, at Stockport, at Huddersfield, at Wrexham. They lost 2-1 at Wycombe. That's the top 5. 1 goal scored in 5 games away from home against the top 5. They did beat Orient and Bolton, who are more in Charlton's kind of table region, but that was back in the first 8 games of the season where Exeter were in much better shape before the injuries to key defensive personnel. And they won last time out at Cambridge 1-0, but 2 poor teams. Got a bit lucky with Cambridge, quite poor finishing. Clearly it was Gary Monk's last game as well. That was a team right at the end of their Gary Monk journey and going down this season. Whereas Charlton, gunning for the playoffs. They're 1.53 to win this with AK Bets at the time of recording. I think that they will. And I think that if they do, there's a good chance they do so 2-0 without facing a huge amount of trouble from Exeter City. So 6-4 Charlton win 2-0, my next best. If anyone's looking to sign up to AK Bets, make sure you use the promo code NTT100. You can just click the link in the show notes and it'll take you to the site and apply the code automatically. If your first bet's an accumulator on football with a minimum of 4 selections, AK Bets will boost the profit gained on that initial bet by 25% in the form of a free bet and up to a value of £100. Check the T's and C's on the website and click the link in the description to take advantage of the sign-up offer. Let's do goal scorers.
My goal scorer is Rob Street to score any time at 11-4 for Donny away at Accrington. Street's coming on loan from Lincoln. It's interesting because his goal record obviously isn't very good. When you consider the teams that he's played for, Newport County back in 21-22, Shrewsbury in League One 22-23, Cheltenham last season in League One. Then he was signed by Lincoln and couldn't really get in the team early part of the season. He's never really played for like a good attacking side, which might tell quite a big story as to why his goal tally is so poor. This is the first time that Street has come into a team who are upwardly mobile in their league, who are looking to score a lot of goals, and he's already scored 4 of them. And what's interesting is because Doncaster have a player called Billy Sharp, he's really struggled to force his way into the team. He was initially played out wide left, which is not a position that I would say necessarily suits Street's skill set. But because he kept coming off the bench and scoring goals, eventually McCann obviously said, okay, fair enough, let's give you a start. And he started up front against Morecambe in midweek, and he scored very, very, very early on in that game to make it 1-0, which was the decisive goal. He played 80 minutes. He had 6 shots, totaling basically 1 XG, all in and around the 6-yard box, some with his head, some with his right foot. I just think maybe he's a player who is in the right team. Whether his finishing is up to it, we'll see, but someone who is, because of his height and his physicality and his movement, is someone who could score a lot of goals, and we're just nipping in ahead of the market here at 11-4, which doesn't really reflect the price of a player whose team is, I think, even money or so to beat Accrington, whose away form this season has been so strong, who do score goals consistently. And I think he's being priced up basically on his goal record in the past, rather than him right now being one of the informed goal scorers in the league, who should lead the line up top again for a team that should win this game and could well do so well. So yeah, Rob Street 11-4 any time for Donny is my bet here to make it 5 since he signed in Jan.
My goal scorer also in League 2, Connor Grant of Notts County, 3-1 anytime with AK Bets. Connor Grant scored against Colchester in midweek, so he's kind of on the radar. He went close against Vale the game before, which I watched. He was kind of on my radar then. He's had 3 shots in both of those games and a shot on target in each of his last 4 league appearances. Why is Connor Grant suddenly more of a goal threat than he has ever been before? Because he's playing in the place of David McGoldrick, who's currently out injured. And in that McGoldrick role, you are basically the secondary goal threat behind Jatta, who's had quite a quiet couple of games, actually. So there's an argument that Grant has been maybe Notts' biggest goal threat in the last couple of games. You just watch the shots that he's getting, you watch when Notts attack, and in particular when they build up out wide. Conor Grant's inside the box, just off Jatta, waiting for crosses, waiting for cutbacks, is where his goal came from in midweek. The last 2 Notts games, Conor Grant has had the joint most touches inside the box in the match. And they're at home, a very short price to beat a Tranmere side that have conceded the joint most goals in the league, and 4 more goals away from home than anyone else in League 2 this season. So I'm thinking Conor Grant will be in the right areas to get shots off, and hopefully will score for me 3-1 anytime with AK bets. Have you got a long shot?
My long shot is Blackburn Rovers -1 against Swansea City. The Battle of the Managerless is what they're calling this. They need a snappier title, I think. Blackburn have weirdly won 8 of their last 9 wins have been 2-0, which is crazy. But 4 of the last 5 have covered the -1 handicap. Basically showing that when Blackburn are good, when they play well, they restrict the opposition from creating many good goal-scoring opportunities. And Swansea, to my mind, are a team that don't create very many good goal-scoring opportunities. They have lost 6 of their last 7 games. The only one that they didn't lose was a 1-0 win away at Bristol City, where realistically they should have been 1-2, maybe more, down by the time they scored in the second half. Bristol City's finishing woes was the reason for that, rather than anything impressive from Swansea, which has been reflected in their last 2 defeats. They have lost, of those 6 defeats, Cardiff covered the -1 in the 3-0, well, they covered the -2. Norwich covered the -3 in the 5-1. Coventry covered the -1 in the 2-0. Stoke covered the -1 thanks to Lewis Baker scoring from inside his own half. So only Sheffield Wednesday and Sheffield United, the only 2 teams that haven't done so. The way that things are going at Swansea at the moment, it feels like things are falling apart. The wheels are coming off. And if I'm right, and if Blackburn are kind of kept up to task as they were against Argyle, despite their own manager walking out, in terms of the quality they've got, both in terms of the likes of Cantwell and Makta Gay, who's obviously in form, but the reinforcements brought in January too. If we don't see an improvement from Swans, I think Blackburn win this and win it well. And 11-2, the -1 looks plenty big enough for me.
So this is unusual but exciting. My long shot is Russian Hepburn Murphy of Crawley to score 2 goals or more. Random, but let me explain. 33-1 with AK bets. You can back it on the specials part of the football section of the website. They are away at Blackpool. A couple of different bits to this, so let me build up to the good stuff. Russian Hepburn Murphy of Crawley has been looking dangerous recently. No more so than when scoring a brace, also known as 2 goals or more, away at Bolton the other day. He has been taking loads of shots. In his last 6 games, he's had 4, 3, 3, 7, 2 and 2. He's had a shot on target in his last 4 starts. And he's just sharp, and he's a good finisher. And he was one of those guys that was absolute gunman in his youth career at Villa, scored loads and loads of goals. It's been a difficult first few years of his senior career, but he's looking sharp. And I've noticed something when studying his career that's nudged me to 2 goals or more. He's had 48 league starts in the last 4 seasons across League 1 and League 2, with Tranmere, with Swindon, and now with Crawley. Anytime has landed in 11 of his 48 league starts. In that time, 23% of his league starts. But 2 or more has landed in 4 of 48, in 8.3% of his starts. And that's just the EFL. And I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, hold on, didn't Russian Hepburn Murphy also play for Paphos in Cyprus for a season?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
And yeah, he did. And he scored in 4 games for Paphos. And I know what you're all thinking. What about Karmiotisa away? Yeah? Brace. 6-0 win, scored the 2nd and the 4th. So I'm sitting here thinking, Russian Hepburn Murphy, good goal scorer when he's fit and in rhythm, which he hasn't always been, but he is right now. Is it random that he has scored, that he's converted quite a lot of his anytime, his first goals into 2 or more? Or maybe has he just got something in him? Some sort of super boost that he gets when he scores a goal, like getting a star on Mario Kart on the N64 back in the day. We're going to find out. because I think he's going to have chances against the Blackpool side that have conceded 2 or more in half of their home games this season and never massively convinced me. And Hepburn Murphy, if there's a little bit of space and if the defence isn't quite on up to scratch, I think he'll have shots, maybe another shot on target or two, and maybe 2 goals or more at 33-1. He's been around for a while, Hepburn Murphy, George, but I only noticed today that his first name is just Ian Rush, but reverse.
That is really, really great.
Do you think his parents just really loved Ian Rush?
No.
Okay.
No. Having said that, if you Google Russian,
yeah,
it's all him. Oh my God, it's all him. Every single link is him. And then on the second page, halfway down, Ian Rush, Wikipedia.
So are you telling me that Russian isn't really an established name?
Correct. Well, according to Google. I mean, I'm not gonna. But yeah, maybe they do. Maybe you're onto something. It's not a name.
Well, mate.
Amazing.
So,
great
say
spot.
what I want you to say.
That may be the case. Maybe they are just massive Ian Rush fans.
Maybe his parents were massive Ian Rush fans. I think there's every chance. Now, we can finish off with a game. Get your Russian Hepburn Murphy name is the name of this game. So, George, let's walk through this. Get your Russian Hepburn Murphy name by combining your favourite Liverpool striker, but reverse the first name and surname.
Barnsley.
Milan. Oh God. Okay, we're only a third of the way through right now. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I've never gone like this before. Okay. Barros Milan. Second the second part is an iconic 1960s actor or actress, which you might struggle with off the top of your head. Doris Day.
Gable,
okay. And the third one is a top 5 most common Irish surname, of which Murphy is number 1. Give me one of the others.
O'Connor.
Okay, so what is your Russian Hepburn Murphy name?
Barros Milan. Gable O'Connor.
Brilliant. And I'm sure you'll
What's
score
yours?
this weekend as well. Mine is Owen Michael. Mine is Owen.
You can't even get it out.
Oh my God. Owen Michael Wayne Kelly is mine.
Well
Shout out John Wayne.
You guys are still going to do the double.
Please comment below on the YouTube video with your own Russian Hepburn Murphy name, or get in touch with us on Twitter. Finish us off, George. We've got a goals double. It's an over 3.5
How am I meant
goals
to do that
double.
now?
It's at 10-1. What are you putting up?
Rotherham against Barnsley. I'm going to do this as fast as I can. Rotherham's recent home games: 2-1, 3-2, 3-0, 3-1, 4-2, 2-1. Just loads of goals. I mean, I've taken some out there as well. Away from home, Barnsley, BTTS has copped in their last 6 away games, covering the over 3.5 in 2 of their last 4. Goals. Your turn.
Yeah, Swindon, Chesterfield for me. Insane stat. Teams that have scored, in League 2, which teams have scored 3 or more goals in a league game, the most this season? You're expecting it to be a top team, at least top half. Wrong. MK Dons and Swindon have both scored 3 or more 8 times this season. Chesterfield are not far off on 7. They've scored 5 3 times. But also, Swindon, the home side, going well under Holloway, going goalsy under Holloway, aren't they? They'd only scored 14 in 13 before his appointment. Don't you worry about that. They've scored 32 in 19 games under Holloway, the second top scorers in League 2 since his appointment, but they've also conceded the second most goals in that time. That's a nice combination. Chesterfield have scored 3 or more 7 times. there's no massive jeopardy or tension on this game, really. Paul Cook's waved goodbye to the playoffs after that defeat against Walsall last week. I think it just could go quite big, quite goalsy here. So over 3.5 goals, Swindon, Chesterfield. You've gone Rotherham, Barnsley. AK Bets have gone 10-1. You can back it, if you like it, on the special section of the AK Bets website. Please, if you enjoy this show, could you do us a small favour for the first time in a while? If you listen on Spotify in particular, but otherwise on iTunes, could you like the show and give it a 5-star rating? On Spotify, I promise it takes like 3 seconds max. On iTunes, not much longer. Makes a big difference to us, and we just want our stats to look good. So if you could like the show, that would be great. Comment or tweet us your Russian Hepburn Murphy name. Let's recap the selections. My nap is Carlisle at 6-4. My next best is Charlton to 0 at 6-4. Connor Grant of Notts County is my goal scorer at 3-1. Russian Hepburn Murphy 33-1. 2 goals or more, my long shot.
My nap is Leeds at 19-20 away at Sheffield United. Carlisle at 6-4, my next best. Rob Street of Doncaster 11-4 anytime is my goal scorer, and Blackburn -1 11-2 is my long shot.
I sincerely hope that you all have a big old giggle this weekend, because God, it feels good. Go out,